Okay, so we'll quickly start now. So let me put the agenda something like this. Did we get any chance like yesterday what we discussed something I shared, right? You got a mail from me?
Yeah, I read something in that orange assurance system and all the test
Okay.
cases and all. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Okay. So today we'll start with the fundamentals actually. So fundamentals of testing. So I have something like a couple of videos where I don't want to run through any PPTs much. So we have something like fundamentals. We'll go with the types of testing and test case development techniques, management, and defect control. I'll make it very very simple, so you can
Okay.
easily understand. So first we'll go with the fundamentals. Today at least I should cover basic fundamentals like what is testing and why testing is so important and all. And also we'll cover principles of testing. So let me go to my, then we'll try to cover principles of testing.
Mm-hmm.
And also we'll talk about SDLC a little bit and what are the difference and how we do it in STLC. I think these three
Okay.
should be enough for today. We'll try to cover that. Okay.
Okay.
So let me go back. Are you able to see the screen? The screen,
Yes.
right? It's
Yes.
clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 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 In general, can you tell me what now is the software testing? So we have worked on different streams, right? I just want to know like what you understand basically.
Mm. Basically, the software testing, we need to like
Mm-hmm.
once the product is complete and
Mm-hmm.
before deployment, we need to find
Mm-hmm.
each and every bug and
Mm-hmm.
need to deploy error-free product. That's why we
Yes.
need a testing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you said is almost here. Like to identify the correctness or completeness of the quality of the whole product, what you test, and it includes all kind of activities. And as activities can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I mean your tester job is to find or intend to find a bug or error, right? And so on. Make sure it's corrected and before the product is released to the end users. So by
Yes.
looking at this definition, it's very bit complex definition. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give the very simple definition. So where generally we have something like this. Uh, in simple definition, it will be some simple word. The software testing is an activity to check whether the actual results match with the expected results and ensure that it is bug free.
Okay.
Okay. So when I say
Okay.
actual results are from your application, what you are testing.
Yes.
Okay, let's say Orange
Mm-hmm.
HRM, you are able to log into the system or not. That is number. That is the actually. That's what you are trying. You are trying to test. So then how
Okay.
do you match the expected result? So where is that expected result is sitting? But actually expected results coming from your requirement. You know the requirement. You derive test plan. You derive test cases. That's what
Mm-hmm.
yesterday I showed, right? The flow. The full flow
Yes.
you know very well.
Yes.
And you know what to expect. This is
Mm-hmm.
very simple. Let's say 1 plus 1. The expected would be for 2. It cannot be 3 or cannot be minus 1.
Yes.
So in simple
Mm-hmm.
words, the software testing is activity where you want to check whether the actual results matches with the expected results and make sure or ensure that the system is totally a defect free.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's what is a simple definition. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
next we'll see something like, And do you think the testing is so important? What I'm trying to communicate in the next couple of minutes is like why testing is so important.
Ye- Yeah.
We'll see why testing is so important.
Mm-hmm.
See, according to me, the testing is everywhere. So it's not only with a web publication or daily life and what we do,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook or whatever. It's not related to that actually. So according to me, testing is everywhere we see where our software uses.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
by looking at this diagram, is there any hint you are getting like what could be the the crash like airplane got crashed in somewhere 1996 in US somewhere. I don't remember
Yeah.
the year.
Yeah,
So
something like happened with the testing was not properly done. Something that's why the plane got crashed.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So this actually the same issue happened, what you said, and it
Mm-hmm.
killed around 264 innocent people. So this happens everywhere. Because software bug, what it says is like very can cause any potential cause to any kind of devices.
Yes.
And if this happened in Germany, I remember Germany. I don't remember the year, but it's happened in Germany. Radiation therapy. They developed a new product, Therac 25. But
Mm-hmm.
while doing a live, operation, whatever, but actually it killed around 3 people, or it
Mm-hmm.
injured people. So this
Mm-hmm.
happens. Like even might have seen like lot of times we do, the NASA or somebody they keep on launching the satellites, right? So every year they come with a
Yeah.
big milestone. So
Yes.
sometimes it got failure. So the failure can be a technical problem or the design problem, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it can be a simple bug also.
Yes.
Simple bug also. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason I always see software, testing is, uh, people think that is very easy, but it's very sensitive in nature. It depends upon which stream you work. If it is web
Mm-hmm.
application, generally we won't kill people. So if it is
Mm-hmm.
satellite, this kind of radiation therapies and we
Mm-hmm.
definitely, we play with people life.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. So, but
Mm-hmm.
actually, I don't think so. We can really move to NASA and test it and that. So
Mm-hmm.
really our is like web control. Like we use always, you know, uh, a Facebook a lot or any kind of a gadgets, iPads, and we live around in and around these gadgets. So
Mm-hmm.
typically, we work on web technologies. So
Yes.
that's how now your testing is. Today it's very important. That's the importance of your testing. You should know
Mm-hmm.
why the testing is so important or what.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. Like I try to give some couple of examples so that we can easily relate the things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we'll see principles of testing. So what are the principles of testing? We have like around 6 to 8 principles of testing. You need to understand the basic principles of testing first. So once you know this, then you can easily carry out the things. Okay. So I'll give one scenario. We'll take one scenario. Uh, I have 2 folders here. This is a typical Windows folder. You can see, right? There is one folder A and folder
Mm-hmm.
B. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Yes.
in folder A, I have something like testing.txt is a text file, basically one text file.
Text
Okay.
file.
Now
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask you, yeah, it's a text file, or you think the any file. Uh, in Windows, right? So we can easily drag and drop here, or you can do copy paste, whatever,
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
from one folder to another folder. To open,
Another folder.
if you minimize, and you can easily copy paste, or you can do drag and drop. Now I'll ask you to test something like what can you come up with a test cases uh, that we can move a file from folder A to folder B. It's something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me any testing? I mean, any kind of test case in your mind so that I can move the file successfully from here, from one location to another location,
Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to move the file from one location to another location, right?
another location. Yes, yes. It's very simple. It's simple use case.
Okay. So I need to like write a test case for this.
Mm. No. I'm not asking that. Just tell me the scenarios. But what possible scenarios you can do?
Yeah, the basically copy paste and move and
Hmm.
share. Yeah, the whatever you told, all the
Correct.
scenarios.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. this looks somewhat correct, right? Because see, that's the problem. So now, when as a tester, right? Oh, the
Mm-hmm.
requirement says I want to move a file from A to B, but
Yes.
sometimes what happens, you won't get a clear requirement saying that if this is shared, if this is not having any permission, or that
Mm-hmm.
folder, the disk, right? Whatever you're using the disk, from different location, it's totally full, or you don't have any permission to do that, or it has doesn't have any storage capacity, or it's
Mm-hmm.
the file name is same, then what happens? So these kind of things, what happens, in the requirement, you won't really get it. That's what in my experience I've seen. Nobody will give the very real time. Their problem is, the client problem is, I want to move file from one location to another location. That's it. Simple. What developer will do, he understands, he will develop in his own way, and he'll give to QA. So what QA should do now? QA should think outside the box. The way the developer thinks, or the way the other requirement team or BA team thinks, you should not test in that way. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say, don't always go with the requirements, what is given to you or what is communicated to you. We need to
Yes.
think outside the box and analyze the things. Is there any chance of failing these use cases?
Yes.
See, the first use case is working perfectly. When you say try to move from folder A to folder B, it is working
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens if there are any security patches or the storage capacity is full?
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, it might fail. So we need to think in all the angles and to come up with this scenario first. So once your scenarios are good, then you can easily derive the test case. That's what yesterday we saw a couple of scenarios for a login screen, right? So once the
Yes.
scenario is fixed, I can easily derive the test cases. If you don't know the scenario, the basic scenario, you cannot now come up with the test cases. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is, the people will do, they do ad hoc testing. So in ad hoc testing, there is no guarantee that you will cover all the cases. There is no guarantee. We'll come back to ad hoc testing later. So I have some separate sessions to discuss about very important types of testing. So there we'll cover what is ad hoc testing. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
this is a very formal way. Think that ad hoc is a informal way. That is simple definition.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I'll ask you another simple question. So, okay, let's say there is a form here, a simple form in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a lot of fields, lot of fields. Let's say 15 fields. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and each field. When I say each field, nothing but each text box. Uh, you might come up with something like five test cases, or yeah, five or three or five test cases. So 15 into three, something, right? Some value. So in the
Yeah.
same way, we want to test all the combination. Let's say these are all the mandatory fields and some are not mandatory fields. This line is mandatory and this is not mandatory. And again, this is mandatory. Suppose you entered the one of the mandatory fields and click on save button. What
Mm-hmm.
should happen? Because it should throw an error. You didn't fill the mandatory fields. Correct, right?
Yes.
So if you take this combination, right, you will end up with around like 50,000, 5,78,000 125 test cases. Actually, if you see the combination, for this simple case, 15
Mm-hmm.
fields, you will end up with lakhs together test cases. Do you think that it's easy to, or it's a way, there's any way to test this, the lack of test cases? You may take some year, some months, right? Correct?
Yeah, it's
All the
too much.
combinations, some months. Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
It's very too much. So
Mm-hmm.
in real time also this happens. The way the application we are testing today, this has 50 fields and
Mm-hmm.
all combination, all the possible ways, positive, negative, it's not possible. Now the question is how to test this, how to deliver.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to communicate, we communicate something like uh, if you are to test all the possible combination or execution time and cost definitely will increase, right? You can't say, give me 1 month, I'll test it. Suppose per month I'll paying some $1,000, then it's
Mm-hmm.
totally lost, right? So hence, one of the basic testing principle, it states that exhaustive testing is not possible. You need to understand this basic one. If tomorrow
Yeah.
somebody gives them an application and say there are 200 fields, you test with all combination and you end up with something like 50,000 test cases, and you
Mm-hmm.
say, and they are forcing you to push this to production by next week,
Yeah.
we need to tell clearly, loudly that, see, the basic principles of testing is exhaustive testing is not possible because I have exhaustive test cases, right? It's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand. They need to understand it. It's always difficult to communicate to the other team. So as a QA, you understand very well, or your team, suppose you're working in a team, you
Mm-hmm.
understand this very well. The problem here is the different departments, right? It's very very difficult to convince them why QA didn't find a bug, or why QA is not enough knowledge to figure out the bugs. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to understand, make sure that, see, the principal states is this: if you have the 50,000 test cases, how can you deliver the product? There should be some way to do this, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason, first principle is simple, very simple. Exhaustive testing is not possible. That's the reason I gave some couple of examples to make you understand very well. If I directly say exhaustive testing is not possible, then again you'll ask me a lot of ways to understand the things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll go with the very basic, the problem wise, the real time problem. The
Mm.
simple solution is exhaustive testing is not possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the question is, suppose I want to deliver this. How do you deliver the product then? I understand. Let's say as a different management team, they understand this very well. Then they'll
Mm-hmm.
ask simple question: can you deliver this by next week? What you will
Mm-hmm.
test and what you will not test, or
Basically, I
which?
will test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. We can only do the basic testing. That's it. We can't
correct.
do.
So when I
Yeah.
say basic testing, what
Mm-hmm.
customer really uses, what he wants. If I provide him around 100 test cases per day, I can complete probably with some 2 resource or 3 resource. If you have a good
Mm-hmm.
resource or a good team, I can
Mm-hmm.
deliver by checking very high risk use cases. This is very must use cases. Customer will look for these use cases. The next use cases, they may not do. As the product matures, right? I mean, it can keep on fix the bugs. But as you said, yes, we need to do with a basic use cases, so the customers are really happy. They are able to use the application with the basic usage. That's it. That's very simple definition.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what risk. Instead of we do optimal amount of testing based on the risk assessment of the application. So what is the risk assessment? Is that you are not able to log in itself? There is a big issue. Suppose if you take a banking application, right? We do a lot of transaction between the accounts. Let's say I will transfer you $100. I'm able to transfer you $100, but it's not displaying that message saying that you successfully transferred the some amount, that $100, but it has deducted from my balance.
Mm-hmm.
So though it is error, I can still release to the customer saying that, okay, it says something successfully transferred, but in account may it is not deducted, then is a big risk. But actually it's deducted, right? Means somewhere the transfer is happening, message is not proper. So we'll fix that message in the next build. We don't have really a time. So there are a lot of these risk assessment is based on the application. So what I'll do is, like, slowly when we move on, right? We'll try
Mm-hmm.
to understand this. What is risk assessment? What are the project risk? What are the different risks? Basically, we have project risk and the product risk
Yes.
in general. So we'll try
Mm-hmm.
to cover that. We'll try to cover that later. So
Okay.
what I'm trying to say here, the principles of testing. You have to understand the principles of testing. Okay.
Okay.
Next. Okay. So I'll give one another scenario. I have a list of options over here, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to tell me, like, which operation is most likely to cause your OS to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's say you try to open Microsoft Word. It's very simple. Okay,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
try to
Mm-hmm.
open Internet Explorer or one Firefox or any kind of a browser, and opening 10 different application all at the same time. Now tell me, out of these three options,
Mm-hmm.
which is most likely to cause the OS to fail?
Opening 10 different applications all at all the same time.
Okay, why?
Because like if we open all like 10 different file at same time, then of
Okay,
course the operating system will fail. Like it
correct.
will cause a
That is
problem.
something like, yep,
Mm-hmm.
that is something like you're trying to do a multitasking, right?
Multitasking. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. One second. So when you say multitasking, right? So probably try to test these kind of scenarios. First, you should come up with the multitasking use cases, and then make sure whether it works properly or not. It's kind of a module for you now. Multitasking is a kind of a component, something you need to uh, break the system or break the OS, or make sure with all the combinations or 10 different applications or 20, 30, 40, 50, where it works properly or not.
Okay.
Okay. So here something like yesterday's paradox. So it says something like if the same tests are repeated over and over and again, I don't think so it will find a bug. Correct, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
So I mean to say we need to be more mature with the test cases. We need to enhance the test cases as the day progresses, as the product get more matured, right? So you need to enhance the test cases. So let's say today the customer are using IE8, tomorrow IE9, IE10, or Safari, or it could be something like Firefox with
Chrome or
26, 27, 28, or Chrome with 31,
yeah.
32, 33. Those are multiple things. So
Yes.
today you develop a simple test case, you execute it, you say it's working fine, and you say like next 3 months you are executing the same test cases. Of
And
course,
it's not.
it might work, but somewhere it fails.
Yes.
Somewhere it fails because your test case is not matured.
Mm-hmm.
So down the line, how the development code will keep on changes over the time and get more stable, right? In your test case also, you should keep on thinking, and keep on adding valid or invalid, I mean the valid test cases. So this principle is called the yesterday's paradox.
Okay.
Yeah, don't always rely on the same test case. If somebody is developed, I'm going to execute, and my job is done. So most of the company, what happens, they when they join to some company X, they have a lot of test cases, with them. They hire a guy and say, hey, we have test case, we execute this. What the guy will do, he will go through all the test cases and he just execute the things, and he feels that okay, my job is done. I'm done with 50 test cases. Cool, everything is working fine. But I told, right, as a tester, we need to think in the negative shades also sometimes. Try to break the system, come up with a lot of test cases. So this is one of the principles of test cases. Don't try to rely on the same test case, or don't try to run the same test case over and over and again. Okay?
Okay.
You need to keep on enhancing the test cases. Very simple. The simple principle is today's paradox.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it says. So to overcome this, so your test case need to be reviewed by you or by your peers or by management team or by basically the UAT guys sitting there. They can really review and they can give some advice to you guys. So okay, this is some what is missing. This is the way the end user uses, but the way the your written test case that is not covering the basic usage or basic use cases. So try to add a new cases or new different test cases so that it will help you to find more defects. Ultimately, you have to find a defect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, can you claim that the product is bug free? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Nancy, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Can you claim that your software is a bug free? Or let's say Facebook or something like that. Any
No.
application. You can claim that it is a bug
No.
free. Okay. So why? Why?
Sometimes you feel face some problems, of course.
Okay. Okay. So maybe you use a Samsung mobile or iPhone, right? Definitely at least in a lifetime, one time it might have hanged, right? 100%.
Yeah.
If you take any
Yeah.
phone in the world, yeah. So
Yeah.
this has.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll show one video where they're launching Windows 98. It's a public video. I think it's very, you can get it in a YouTube channel, very
Mm-hmm.
popular one.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see the Bill Gates over here, and
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to give a demo, the public launch of Windows 98, basically. Okay.
Okay. You
Now,
can try it.
now I'll run this, see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So in the public, what happened? Launch actually,
The system
the
will crash.
system crash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Is that Microsoft company when they're launching, is that they didn't check in all the way to make sure it's a bug free, make sure that the system doesn't crashes on, or any event or any launch. They might have
Mm-hmm.
tested, right? They might have
Yeah,
tested thoroughly.
yeah. But sometimes you can't, especially like trust on a system. It can crash
Yeah,
anytime. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is another principles of testing.
Mm-hmm.
It says something like testing shows presence of defects. Do you agree?
Check testing shows presence of. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But and don't say like no crash. I gave just very public a very generic example. But let's say
Mm-hmm.
you are launching you are using a Facebook and Facebook crashes each time. That is very critical. That will impact the Facebook. I mean, as a company, right? It will impact, right? We
Yeah.
are using a lot of users, millions of users across the worldwide, and if it
Mm-hmm.
crashes, then really it's a problem. So
Yeah.
the thing is here, the testing shows presence of defects. The defects can be anything. I mean to say
Yeah.
the defect can be not always crash, not always
Mm-hmm.
crash.
Yeah.
Suppose you transfer the amount and message is not proper. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to
Yeah.
do the actions, but message is not proper. When I say message is not proper, that is a bug to me. Is a
Yeah.
very basic, is a very low profile bug. Is a very
Yeah.
not high priority bug. Is
No.
a
Mm-hmm.
low priority bug. So
Yeah.
the overall idea, I mean, the overall thing is like testing shows the presence of a defect. That's what it says.
Yeah. Got it.
I think these kind of snapshot, I think might have seen somewhere. We used to see long back like this. See, actually, the client or customer really need this. Okay,
Yeah.
and what operation has installed this. So why do you think no this happened?
Mm. Because client always wants something extraordinary.
Extra,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
extra or something like absence of error in policy.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
they communicated something and they
They.
operated or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
developed something, and you
Yeah.
as a tester tested something as a
Yeah.
deployment guy or operation guy. They installed something. So this
Yeah.
this happens actually. This happens in the real world also. Now also it happens. So I mean, not like this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at least some of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next principle, something it says like early testing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is this basically early testing? What do you mean by this?
Testing should start as a the software development life cycle. I think so when the product is ready,
Mm-hmm.
immediately you should start the testing before anything comes. If the like a product will be product needs to be deployed after 15 days, and your
Mm-hmm.
product is ready just today, so
Mm-hmm.
you should start the testing as soon as possible.
Yeah,
That means. Mm-hmm.
correct. But why we are doing this as soon as possible or like early testing report? Because you see in the previous snapshot, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to fix those problems, right? Probably we should go with the early testing. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
when you say early testing, all are involved. Different teams are involved. They know the product very well. They know the flow very well about the product. All
Mm-hmm.
know about the things, and then slowly they can engage developer or QA to test side by side and make sure it works perfectly in their environment first, and then they move to QA. QA has enough time to come up with a test plan, test case that we saw yesterday, right? We can fill
Yes.
all kind of use case and start immediately testing. You no need to
Mm-hmm.
wait until it's pushed to the production. Correct, right? You don't
Yeah.
need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the principles says that early testing is important.
Yes.
And another, okay. So another principle or last principle is state something like testing is context dependent. So what do you mean by context dependent?
Mm. No. No
I mean to say
idea.
testing is not same as we test a web application. Okay,
No, same
or
as the.
within not same as a web application. Suppose you have a
Oh,
mobile phone. I'll ask you to test the mobile phone thoroughly. The way
yeah.
you test the mobile phone is different. The way you test
Yeah.
a web, any kind of
But,
web application, it's totally
yeah.
different. So it
Yes. Yes.
depends upon your context dependent. So
Okay.
for
Context.
example,
Like data testing also.
yeah.
That's
So the
different.
best example here is the way you test the e-commerce site, that is eBay, is
Mm-hmm.
very popular one, and the way you test the Microsoft Office, it's totally different.
Yes.
Microsoft Office is standalone. It
Mm-hmm.
sits in a single machine or a PC, and is not at a time user cannot access and do the things, right? It is basically
Yeah.
a public standalone application. Whereas
Yes.
eBay is totally a world wide web where
Mm-hmm.
millions of users can hit the URL and try to do some shopping or shopping cart basically. So they can do whatever they want. So there the approach is different, the strategy is different, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the way you test the Microsoft Office is different.
Yes.
Okay, so this we will study probably like down the line. I'll tell you what is the best way to test a web application. Some web application given to you. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see what and all we can test in a web applications. Apart from
Yeah.
what you say, apart from the requirement test case, test plan, that's fine. That's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
apart from that, what you can test? Is there any
Mm-hmm.
security you can test? We can test any load testing, performance testing, stress testing, or any
Mm-hmm.
usability or GUI or any validation. So those things we need to cover at the later stage. That's the
Okay.
reason it says testing is context dependent.
Mm-hmm.
See the security
Okay.
and all, like I may not test in load performance. I may not test in Microsoft Office. Probably I may try to load one 30 MB file is there with me. 30 MB Word document is there. Try to open that file and how it works. Are you able to open the file and see, or it hangs? Correct, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That kind of a load or stress you are giving to the Microsoft Office document. In the same way, come back to the eBay. In eBay, the
Mm-hmm.
same test case is we cannot execute. I mean to say, I can take a 30 MB file and do something here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The stress testing or load performance testing, what we do in eBay is we'll use some tools to bring up some virtual users, say 1 lakh or 1 million users at a time. They are doing some
True.
shopping, or at a time
Yes.
they are hitting the same mobile. They do search for
Mhm.
iPhone 5s or something.
Yes.
They want to
Yes.
book it. If in
Mm-hmm.
that case, definitely we need to check whether it is going to break the system or not.
Yes.
Correct,
Yes.
right? See,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, what you're trying to do, you're trying to, make sure the software or package it works in all the way, and
Yes.
all the way in the sense it can be validation, UI, usability, load, performance test. But the way you test is quite different. That's what it says.
Mm-hmm.
Testing is a context dependent. This is one of the last principles.
Yes.
Okay, so paradox. Yesterday's paradox. early testing. Testing is the context department, and
And
the principles what exhaustive testing
exhaustive
is not
testing.
possible. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these are very very important. As a tester, we should know this very the basic principles.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is that clear?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Can you
So
share
next
the
we'll
video, this video to me also, once you get a
yeah, these
time?
videos are there somewhere. Let me try that. There in our
Yeah.
website. I mean, somewhere in the this one also. I
Okay.
got it this from couple of things. We actually engaged with a couple of sites. Actually, we used to do a lot of videos earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very public launch. You can easily access to public.
Okay.
They want to share. I believe I have one site. Probably I'll share that site to you. You
Yeah,
might
you can,
understand
or
very
you
easily.
can put in a Dropbox. That will be like
Yeah.
easily understandable. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do that. So next we'll see something like I think yesterday I covered most of the SDLC and STLC. I was trying to cover right yesterday requirement build and everything. This also kind of a same approach like the SDLC. We have a lot of different kinds of SDLC, right? So you remember anything like a waterfall model?
Waterfall. Yeah. No,
It's an approach.
actually,
Basically, it's
yeah.
an approach. It's an approach.
Mm-hmm.
You might have studied somewhere waterfall model, agile model, or agile methodology, or SDLC, or V model.
Yeah, I heard all these models like Agile
Yeah,
and yeah. Mm-hmm.
correct. So each company they use their own
Use
way
the
to
model.
do this actually. Yeah, but especially if you see the service-based companies like big companies, right? They have
Mm-hmm.
a different approach. When you go to the product-based companies, most of
Mm-hmm.
the product-based companies now work on agile model.
It is, yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
we'll cover that agile model later. So I have very good video where you can really get sense of what is agile, like how they do agile testing. So this
Okay.
is very basic to try to cover in line with SDLC and STLC, like software testing life cycle and development life cycle.
Okay.
So what it says is basically we need to go to the requirements. I think yesterday we saw a couple of requirement documents for Orange HRM where it
Mm-hmm.
clearly specified what exactly the client needs. Based on that, somebody has developed the requirement for you. So
Yes.
once the requirement, we got the requirement, what developer in generally do is, okay, they think something like, okay, is there any way I can use some language? There are a lot of languages in this world. We
Yes.
have Java,
Yes.
PHP, .NET. When you
Mm-hmm.
say database, there are open source database, there are
Yes.
Oracle, lot of things. So
Mm-hmm.
they come up with the architecture. Let's say, okay, we're going to develop the product, the requirement using uh, these kind of suites
Yes.
where it suits
Mm-hmm.
us or we have a very good skill resource where we can really solve the problem or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
they come up with this. So basically they design. So design is their headache. It's not our headache. So
Yes.
they're going to design. So we are least bothered. We can't say them use PHP. Correct, right? So because .NET is not free, it's a license tool, and PHP Java is totally free. You can easily download and do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is their design. They're going to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
next, what happens? They're actually they code the software. That's the reason they call that as a build. When you say build, build has a lot of build basically has a software.
Okay.
It's a package. It's kind of a full package, and the
Okay.
software to verify that it's built as per the specification given to the client. Okay. So what generally we get is a testing stage. So this is the requirement stage, this is the
Mm-hmm.
design stage, this is the build stage, and this is the testing stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what QA will be doing actually once the requirement is in, develop, developer is designing the software.
Mm-hmm.
What QA is doing here, then what generally a tester or a QA will do? Based on the requirement, he will come up with the use cases. He will come with the scenarios. He will come up with a test plan. He will come up with the test cases, or he will come up with the test data. That's what we saw yesterday in one of the flow, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so you will try to come with as and many use cases or test cases, and you will make sure that my test cases are ready, and I am ready to test the product now.
Yes.
That was the basic process here.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, what happens? Let's say you test the product and you release to the client the production mode. Then what happens? It will go to the maintenance mode. Maintenance mode. So what is maintenance mode? What?
Yeah, basically we need to like maintain the application after
Mm-hmm.
once we test with the computer, then we need to like put on a certain like servers and deploy the application. Then we need to like give the support and 24 hours 7 something like that. That
Yeah,
we
it all
maintain.
depends. Maintenance is actually very vast topic actually.
But
So
yes.
suppose I told that in design developer is going to use Oracle or something. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say tomorrow Oracle crashes.
Mm-hmm.
Just think like that. Or all your schema information, everything is gone for a toss, right? I mean, you cannot nowhere can't get back the things. Customers are
Yes.
using customers' data is sitting in a database, and it
Mm-hmm.
crashes, and there's a big problem.
Yes.
Somebody has to maintain the things, right? So further, they
Mm-hmm.
have a separate team. They do regular backups. They trigger automatically, or they do some kind of a scheduling. Automatically, they get the backups and keep it in some file to make sure the data is safe. That's number
Mm-hmm.
one. And second, sometimes what happens, maintenance, sometimes customer users and he says, no, I need one kind of a requirement. This is not somehow covered. Or I came up with the requirement now. I need some button there. And can you guys develop this? So that will also go in a maintenance mode sometimes.
Yes.
They generally call it the CR changes, customer
Yes.
requirement changes, or
Changes.
change
Mm-hmm.
requirements we do. So that will go into that mode. So that phase is something like a maintenance. The bugs
Yes.
are very less. Probably just we need to maintain the code and make customer happy with the stable code. That's what
Yes.
it is. So it's
Mm.
kind of a typical waterfall model. So once the
Yes.
requirement is ready, then design will go. Design is 100% correct. Then it will go to the build, and the build is perfect. Then it will go to the testing mode. Of course,
Mm.
testing mode. Then you go for a.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the previous model, right, the testing happens only once you get a correct, clear requirement, design, build, and test. Now
Yes.
imagine that there is a requirement itself is wrong, or
Mm-hmm.
something like the requirement was correct, but somebody communicated the wrong requirement. They implemented, they took it in a different way and started doing the things. So design to meet the requirement, build to meet the design, and obviously we end up with a wrong product because it did meet the requirement. Obviously the product is wrong. Your
Yes.
design may be correct, your build may be correct, but while executing, while as a tester while executing, you always go with the requirement and see whether the actual versus expected is matching or not. If it is matching, then you cannot really ship the product. So this changes happens because when there is a change in the requirement, we need to change the design, we need to change the build, of course, and to test it and go for a maintenance mode. So
Yes.
even if you see today's cost, right, in the way in the industry, I remember there is 10 to not 10 to 12, minimum somewhere around 20 to 25% of things fail due to the requirement. They really fail due to the requirement.
Yes.
The requirement is correct sometimes, or they communicate in a different way, or totally requirement is wrong. Nobody didn't catch the problem within the requirement. They started design, build, test. When you go to the
Mm-hmm.
test and go to the customer side, right, it says it's wrong. Why? Because the requirement is wrong.
Mm.
So
Yes.
this happens. This happens in industry. I've seen like 10 to 15 or somewhere around 20%. It happens. The requirement was totally wrong. It deviates the what you're trying to develop basically.
Develop the product. Yes.
Yep, this happens. See, same way happens for each stage also. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
requirements is 100% correct. We
Yes.
totally agreed with the client and say we're going to sign off. Any change in the requirement, we are not going to take it as of now. If there any
Yes.
critical, any business changes, we'll do agree. But the
Mm-hmm.
basic ones, we cannot change the system. See, if we keep on change the requirement, there is a lot of problem will arise actually because requirement is correct, then there is a wrong design. Obviously, the build also will go wrong and testing also. Obviously, we can't test the product. Design is correct, build is wrong. So if you take any stage in this flow, right, there are a lot of problems basically. So the fixing the problem at each stage, there's a cost involved. Now I'll give you one simple example. If there is a problem in a requirement, okay, and you found at the testing stage, now the fixing the problem at the requirement stage is really, really high because once you fix the problem, it has to go through the design, it has to go through the build, it has to go through the testing phase.
Testing. Mm-hmm.
Correct. The way the flow, the cycle happening here, stage one, two, three, it has to pass through all the stages, and then only it is going to land into the testing thing. So this is cost is really, really high. Okay. Suppose requirement is correct, design is wrong, then what happens? There is a cost involved. Probably it
Mm-hmm.
will not go to the requirement. It will directly go to the design team, and they are going to
Mm-hmm.
fix that and going to give the build, and again you're going to test it. See, if you take any stage, right, something is not working, or
Yes.
some stage, in some stages, something is not working. We cannot ship the product.
Yes. Got it. Mm-hmm.
Whole together, we need to redesign the things. So
Mm-hmm.
just imagine redesigning is not so easy. It is a lot of cost, a lot of team, a lot of budget is involved. Suppose I give the budget only $1,000 to develop this, and you didn't understand the requirement. You develop the wrong product or wrong design, then you cannot fit into that budget, right? It's total loss for the company.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
reason most of the companies should follow the approach. The approach, the methodology, what you follow, right? The development methodology should be
Mm-hmm.
correct, basically. There should be some minimal changes in design, build, or requirement, not the very high level changes.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Got it.
what basically this happen? This basically we need to do a redesign to correct the defects. That's the
Yes.
biggest problem now.
Yeah. Got it. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Due to the requirement design.
this is correct, right? So, as
Mm-hmm.
when you go there, and most of the people, they might have seen 50% of defects are introduced during the requirement itself.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
very, very difficult. And
Yeah. That
this is the requirement stage, and this is the design stage. You spend some dollars. This is the coding for around $977. So see, testing will take almost double, or more than a double, not double.
Mm-hmm.
It's around $7,136
Mm-hmm.
we are spending to test. Why? Because to make sure, I told
But
right, we are know all kinds of principles now by this time to
mm-hmm.
make a bug-free product or whatever. So when you go to the maintenance, of course, maintenance will be high cost. It depends upon the stages.
Mm-hmm.
So the cost per defect is very, very important. Like in which phase you find a defect, it
Yeah.
it depends on that. If
Yeah.
it is a requirement design, there is no defect, just a coding defect. Of course, you can really fix it, and the cost is just a minimal. But if you
Mm-hmm.
see the design defect and requirement defects, it's totally it will take a different way actually.
Yes.
This is something like SDLC or STLC model. It's also called as a V model. If you look at this, right, it looks like something like V, right? This is a V
Mm-hmm.
model. So it's something like validation and verification kind of a stage. So this is a kind of a different, what we call different approach or different model or methodology where some companies follows this. So they got a requirement. They will go with a functional specification. They develop high level. They do a lot
Design.
of programming, design, everything. When a coding comes here, right, they do a unit testing. So
Mm-hmm.
unit testing is always on par with the design. Integration testing with the high level design. System testing we do with the functional specification. I'll come back. What is unit? What is integration? Later stage. Who will
Okay.
do the unit testing? What really it is there in integration testing? I'll give one simple example of. I'll take one sample application and try to solve what is integration testing there. I'll give the live example. So this is typically be the V model, and this is something like system testing where generally we do kind of load testing, performance testing,
Mm-hmm.
and all kind of things, right? That is done at the system testing, and this cannot overlap or this cannot change. Like system testing cannot be here and integration cannot be here. This is
Mm-hmm.
something like a fixed model.
Oh,
Unit
yeah.
testing, then we'll go with the integration. If integration is working properly, then only it makes sense to do a system testing.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose unit testing is not all working properly, then what point of getting integration testing? It depends actually. Again, integration also depends. But basically, it should pass the unit testing, right? So
Yes.
unit testing is generally done by developers, not with the QA guys. So it all depends each company how they follow. But this is a kind of a typical team model. So this we will cover in the next couple of sessions. We'll go in detail about a couple of examples with unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and UAT.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Another model we have something like a iterative life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Even Agile also they use iterative life cycle. Let's say they come up with a phase. Okay, phase one. Phase one, I'll give, let's say there are 100 requirements. They do some phasing. In a phase one, I'll give only 10 requirements. They do 10 requirements design, build,
Mm-hmm.
and test it. And the
Yes.
phase two, what happens? They will, from the backlog, they will take it and they will try to create next 10 set of requirements,
Mm.
design it and build and then test it. So as the phase moves, right, your requirements keep on adding and it's kind of a iterative life cycle. And the bigger challenges generally we face is like uh, here 10 requirements is developed, tested, working fine. In the phase two also 10 requirements developed, designed, built and is working fine. But somewhere this need to be integrated, right? How do you
Yes.
make sure all 20 requirements are working? I can't go to the phase one and test it. I can go to the phase two and test the remaining 10 requirements. It's not possible. See, while developing, they have done with the iterative, but end of the day, the package or a product, right, the end product should go with the 20 requirements to the customers. That has to work. So
Mm.
these requirements should keep on carrying with each phase. This phase 2 has 10 requirements plus the new one. Phase 3 has 20 requirements. You got it right. It is carrying
Mm-hmm.
from phase 1 to phase 2 and
Mm-hmm.
phase 3 alone has 10 requirements. So in total, there are 30 requirements that should work properly as it was working in phase 2 and phase 1. But the
Mm.
brand new 10 new requirements should also work properly and should not get no any issues with the existing requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Or basically, it should not break the things that were working here in the requirement of the phase 1. You should not break in phase 3.
Yeah. Got it.
So why they do is like let's say there are 100 requirements. I'll as a development or a product manager, I say you give us 6 months time, we'll develop the product and give to you. Customer will not wait. Correct, right?
Mm.
Customer today is like everything is speedy, everything is really fast.
Mm.
Customer says, okay, I'm not going to wait 100 requirements. I don't want 100 requirements at a time. I will tell you what requirement is important for me. You deliver to it. We're going to use it by phase, you deliver the requirements to us and we are going
Mm-hmm.
to use it. So down the line, what happens? Like phase one, two, three, like so on, the product will get matured or down the line 6 months or 3 months, you end up with all 100 requirements or requirements are matching to the customer or the specification and it has passed through all QA phases and we can release to the customer. So
Yes.
this is a very popular model. This is very close to agile model. We will see come back in the next stages. what is agile and how they really in agile model how to test it basically. What is the tester life in agile model? That's also we'll see. What basically as a tester he will do in agile methodology that we'll see.
Okay.
Okay. So this is something like iterative life cycle. So one is waterfall, V model, and iterative life cycle.
Iterative model.
Yeah, iterative model. So you should know as a definition which model you follow in your company. Most of the time it's like agile only. So that's what is
Okay.
matured. It's matured now. Yeah, I told right. So this kind of a rapid RAD they will call rapid and agile development. So this will try to cover in the next session. So. Okay, so what it says like there are a lot of models available in the market. So as the IT industry, what you call it, more mature, a lot of challenges happen, right? So everyone will come up with their own way of developing the thing. So there are a lot of development life cycle models. We're not going to read that. So basically, what the popular one is agile. We'll try to cover in the next session. So it all depends upon your project, your company goals and set of goals, what the aim, and they go with the projects. Okay. Okay. So I think what we covered today, we got something like principles of testing and SDLC and SDLC. Yeah. And these SDLC, I'll be keep on talking in the next a couple of sessions where closely we work with the SDLC model. Not SDLC. I mean, you because we are not a developer, right? So, but at least you should know what are the models available in the market and how the company does. And as a tester, what's your life cycle? What's the life cycle? What you follow in the company? It all depends how they do it. So I'll give the real-time examples how we follow in the company, and typically the generic way, and they can easily catch the things. And next, something like tomorrow, we'll start with the types of testing. So we have a lot of types. I told right in the previous slide where unit testing is there. There is integration testing. There is system testing. You might have heard, sanity, smoke. These are very regular terms you always hear from QAs like what is sanity, what is smoke, what is regression testing, what is non-functional testing. Yeah, non-functional or something like you do with UI related or usability or stress testing, performance testing. It's kind of a non-functional. And also we see white box testing. Okay. I don't think so. I can cover tomorrow one shot. So we'll go with the phase by phase. At least I'll try to cover first three parts tomorrow, and the next another one I can complete the types of. So once you understand the fundamentals, once you understand the all types of testing, basically there are around I'll tell you like there are a lot of testing types available. I really can't go through with all of them. So which is very important for our testing this one, right? We are going to talk about that. Okay, there's a lot of testing. There is compatibility testing. There is security. There is API testing. There are a lot of there are 100 plus different types of testing. So we cannot really apply all those 100 types of testing for a given product. We can't do that. It all depends. I told right, it's a context dependent. Again, it's a context dependent. Where it suits, then only we're going to apply the testing types. So that we'll try to cover. So once you're good at these types of testing, right, then we should see how to develop or how to write test cases, and there are a lot of techniques available. You might have heard something like black box testing, white box testing, or something like boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning, decision table, state transition testing, or use case testing. So we'll come up with the techniques based on these techniques, right? It is very easy to derive the test cases. Is the whole idea. If you know the techniques, if you know the techniques very well, then you can easily derive the scenarios or test cases from it. Okay.
Okay.